Hello, everyone. Do you sometimes feel a little lost when you read instructions in English?
Yes, Emma. Maybe you're trying to build something, or even cook something new, and the words just don't make sense.
It happens, but don't worry. Today, we're going to make following instructions much easier, especially in the kitchen.
That's right. Welcome to the English Speaking School podcast.
Today, we're talking about cooking and how to follow a recipe in English. It's a great way to learn everyday English.
We'll focus on important words for giving instructions, like cut, add, stir. These are called imperatives. You use them all the time.
And we'll also learn new vocabulary for ingredients and different cooking methods, so you'll feel confident in any English kitchen.
Get ready to cook up some new English skills with us.
Before we dive into our first recipe, just a quick word from us. If you're enjoying our podcast and want more help with your English, make sure to hit that subscribe button.
Yes, subscribe is an important imperative. Just like when a recipe tells you, chop the vegetables or bake for 30 minutes. By subscribing, you'll get more solutions to your English problems, delivered right to your phone.
Exactly. We're here to help you understand English better, whether it's following a recipe or just having everyday conversations. So make sure you don't miss any new episodes.
So let's talk about why following instructions in English can feel challenging. It often comes down to two main things: specific vocabulary and the directness of imperative verbs.
That's right. Learners often know common verbs, but recipes use very specific ones. For instance, cut is general, but in cooking, you'll see slice, chop, or dice. Each one tells you how to cut something.
Exactly. And because recipes are short and direct, with phrases like mix well or bake until golden, if you don't understand that one key verb, the whole instruction can be lost. You can't guess from context easily when every word is a command.
Plus, many cooking verbs don't have direct one-word translations in other languages, or their meaning is very precise. Take simmer. It means cook slowly in water just below boiling point. It's not just cook. Okay, so how do we fix this? Our first solution is simple. Don't try to translate every single word at first. It can feel overwhelming.
Yes, that's key. Instead, focus on the action verb. This is usually the very first word in an instruction, telling you what to do. For instance, if a recipe says, slice the onions thinly, the most important word is slice.
Exactly. If you understand slice, you know what to do with the onions. You can worry about thinly later, or just do your best. The main action is clear.
Think of it like this. Identify the verb, then the object. Chop the carrots. Chop is the action. Carrots is what you chop. This simple focus helps break down the instruction so you don't get lost.
So, when you see a sentence like, melt the butter in a pan, your brain should first grab melt. That tells you the main job. Everything else gives you more details, but melt is critical.
Let me tell you a quick story about this. I was trying a new curry recipe once, and it said, toast the spices gently in a dry pan.
Okay, that sounds like a common cooking step. What was challenging about it?
Well, I wasn't entirely sure what toast meant for spices, or gently, but I saw toast was the main verb and spices was the object. So I knew I needed to do something to the spices.
Right. You didn't get stuck on the details. Toast here means to heat them up without oil to make them more flavorful. Even if you just thought heat, you'd be close enough to continue.
Exactly. I put the spices in the pan and heated them carefully, focusing on the main action, toast. The gently part, I figured, meant not to burn them, so I kept stirring.
That's a perfect example. You focused on toast and spices, which are the essential parts. Gently and in a dry pan are important details, but the main action comes first. Another great example is peel the potatoes. Even if you don't know peel, You know you need to do something to the potatoes to get them ready.
And peel means to remove the skin. So remember, find that action verb first. It's your compass in the kitchen.
Okay, so our first solution helps you find the most important word. But what if you find yourself stuck on too many verbs that seem similar?
That's a common problem. For example, mix, stir, and whisk all involve moving things around, but they're not exactly the same. Our second solution is to learn related verbs in groups or categories.
Yes, exactly. Instead of just learning stir by itself, try to learn stir, mix, and whisk together. Think of them as verbs for combining ingredients.
This helps because you start to understand the type of action needed. If a recipe says whisk the eggs, you know it means to combine them very quickly, often with a specific tool, to make them light.
But if it says stir the soup, it means to move it gently with a spoon to prevent burning or to combine ingredients. The action is similar, but the intensity and purpose are different.
Another great category is verbs for cutting. We already mentioned slice, chop, and dice. When you learn them together, you can compare them. Chop is rough and fast, slice makes thin pieces, and dice makes very small, even squares.
So when you see an instruction like dice the tomatoes, you immediately think of small, even squares because you've compared dice with chop and slice. Learning in categories gives you a clearer mental picture.
Let's take a common instruction you might see in a salad recipe. It might say, dice the cucumbers and tomatoes.
Okay, so if you just knew cut, you might cut them anyway. But because you've learned slice, chop, and dice as a group, you know dice means to cut them into small, even, square-shaped pieces.
Exactly. You have a mental image. If the recipe instead said, slice the cucumbers, you'd make thin, round pieces. Or if it said, chop the tomatoes roughly, you'd know bigger, less even pieces are fine.
Learning them together helps you understand the purpose and the exact shape or size the recipe wants. It gives you a much clearer picture of what to do than if you just learned cut on its own.
It's like having a little toolkit of actions. When you see dice, you pull out the small squares tool. When you see slice, you pull out the thin pieces tool. Each one is specific.
That's a great way to think about it. Now, for a super quick tip, a 2-minute trick you can use right away.
Perfect. What's our quick win for our listeners today?
It's simple. When you encounter a new cooking verb, don't just read it, act it out. Even if you're just sitting down, make the movement with your hands.
Oh, I love that. So if the recipe says knead the dough, you'd make a pushing and folding motion with your hands, even without dough?
Exactly. Or if it says whisk the eggs, you'd pretend to hold a whisk and quickly mix the air. This connects the word to a physical feeling, making it much easier to remember than just looking at a picture.
That's a brilliant hack. Your body remembers the action, so the word sticks better. Try it with chop, stir, or pour. You'll find it helps a lot with understanding those imperatives.
So, to recap, we started by acknowledging that following instructions, especially recipes in English, can be tricky because of specific vocabulary and direct imperative verbs.
Absolutely. But we've given you some powerful tools today to overcome that.
Our first key rule is to focus on the action verb. It's usually the very first word in an instruction, telling you the main task. Don't get lost in the details immediately.
Second, remember to learn related verbs in categories. Grouping words like slice, chop, and dice helps you understand the nuances and get a clearer mental picture of the action required.
And finally, our super quick tip: act out the verb. Physically performing the action, even without the actual ingredients, helps your body remember the meaning, making new words stick much faster.
So, for your quick challenge today, when you're preparing your next meal, even if it's not from an English recipe, try to identify the action verbs you're using. Think, am I chopping the vegetables? Am I stirring the sauce? Am I peeling something?
Yes, and if you find a new action verb in English, or even just one you're trying to solidify, try to act it out right there in the kitchen. Connect the word to the movement.
By applying these simple strategies, you'll feel much more confident next time you encounter an English recipe or any set of instructions. You'll move from feeling lost to feeling empowered.
You'll be cooking up a storm and improving your English at the same time. Thank you so much for joining us today on the English Speaking School podcast.
Keep practicing, keep speaking, and keep learning. We'll talk to you next time.